Hello there, I'm Aldra Hill, and this is an interesting video that I've been wanting to make for a little while. It is a list of 3 things that I want to see changed in Imperator Rome. This video is going to be a showcase of a few ideas that I've been kind of theory crafting over the last few days since release, and I think these are changes that would genuinely improve the game, both for historical accuracy and immersion, but also just for fun gameplay. If you find yourself agreeing or disagreeing with any of the ideas I put forward in this video, then please do let me know in the comments what you think, as well as leaving a like or dislike below, as it is really helpful for me to know what you guys think. Who knows, if enough people like an idea, maybe Paradox will include it. The way combat works in Imperator Rome is really enjoyable. I love the broad categories of units, and I enjoy that it does create an element of strategy and tactics in trying to make sure that you do have resources. It is also important for balance and that all nations can eventually get access to heavy infantry and more important horse units later on as they get access to those trade goods. However, it is frustrating that all units are essentially the same. A heavy cavalry unit recruited in Rome is essentially the same as a heavy cavalry unit recruited in Parthia. I want to be able to need to support my heavy infantry reliant Roman army with Gallic and Germanic cavalry, or Armenian heavy cavalry, or Cretan archers. Basically, I want certain units that are recruited in certain areas to have individual bonuses, because this is how it worked historically. Rome was incredibly reliant on its heavy infantry corps made up of Roman citizens. However, without their auxiliary cavalry and other native units, such as Cretan archers or Iberian light infantry, many of their conquests would never have been possible. What I want is for certain areas to have predefined bonuses. An easy way to do this would be to make it so that the unique unit type bonuses found in individual traditions, such as the Persian traditions that give horse archer damage and discipline, become specific to a regional area and not just to the nation as a whole. This means that Parthia generally gets those bonuses across units that are recruited at any point in their territory, but if another nation were to conquer that core territory, they could then utilize that same bonus, and thus any horse archers that they recruited in those provinces would have the same damage and discipline bonuses. Now, this does obviously have some drawbacks in that it obviously weakens the idea of exporting trade goods such as horses and iron, and also does buff larger nations and they can get a multitude of different troop types with bonuses. But frankly, that's how it should be. Larger empires should be able to just keep winning, and it should require a massive alliance chain of different people to beat a massive country, as happened with Rome. You could also tie these bonuses to mercenaries that are endemic to certain areas, perhaps even linking it so the mercenaries only get the bonuses after a certain year. While it would create some additional historical railroading, it would also allow a great deal of additional tactical nuance that I feel that Imperator Rome would greatly benefit from. This next idea ties into the previous idea of regional troops, as the current game simply has troops that are fueled by manpower and money, and nothing else. When they die, you lose nothing except popularity for the combat leader. In real life, combat losses had a massive effect on the nation on a grand scale, especially based on who died or from which nation. For example, during the famous invasions into Parthian territory under Publius Ventidius Bassus, resulted in Parthia losing a huge quantity of their heavy cataphract cavalry. These cataphracts were made up almost entirely of the Parthian noble class, and the resulting loss of such a high number of the nobility created a massive shockwave in Parthian culture, resulting in a political upheaval and a change in leadership, eventually culminating in massive political instability for several years. Now, this is probably almost impossible to replicate properly within the game, though if a compromise were to be reached, the game could include a few additions to try and symbolize it. For example, losing enough heavy cavalry cohorts could result in a loss of stability, or perhaps even lower popularity for the leader than normal, possibly with a unique event. Another example of this can be seen in Roman history when a large number of cohorts gets destroyed at once, or a battle does especially poorly, such as the famous Battle of Teutoburg Forest and the loss of 3 Roman legions. However, in that case, it was more of anger at Varus, the legion commander himself, than the Roman state. I will admit that this is probably a bit counterintuitive to fun, as punishing you even further after already losing your cohorts creates a negative feedback loop, but I would love at least some way for the game to demonstrate the fact that your soldiers aren't just random schmucks made out of thin air from your manpower pool, but are actually members of your society and whose deaths have genuine ramifications on the nation as a whole. At present, there is simply far too few unique events available for Imperator. Though Imperator is in kind of a strange place with regard to its game identity, being a sort of mishmash between EU4 and CK2, with some of the pop elements of Stellaris, maybe a bit of Victoria, it does seem strange to want more EU4-like events in this case, but the game just feels bare without them. Take my most recent game as Parnia as an example. I didn't realize it until it happened, But once you form the Dahe and unite the tribes around you, you get an historical event, giving you an amazing leader with a massive stack of free troops, which, coincidentally, also destroy your economy due to maintenance, but whatever. This was absolutely amazing, and it felt incredibly thematic. However, beyond that, there were no more events for Parnia or Parthia, leaving you to rely on the incredibly lacking and infrequently occurring random events. There need to be so many more country-specific events, as well as a whole host of other random events, with many of them reliant or alterable based on the individual traits and stats of your rulers or council members. Though the game is still fun without them, the waiting period for my oratory power to refill would be much more enjoyable if I had thematic, interesting events taking place. This was just 3 things that I want to see changed in Imperator. I know there are a lot of criticisms for the game at the moment, but there are also a lot of positives as well. But these 3 things are things that I would absolutely love and I think would make the game so much more immersive, so much more enjoyable, and so much more real. Like I said earlier, do please let me know in the comments and also leave a like if you have enjoyed the video and agree with any of my points. The main thing about this is I want to start discussion and I want to talk about how to make Imperator an even better game than it already is, because I think this is a game with a really bright future, and I give massive credit to the devs for what they've done so far. As ever with Paradox games on release, the future is looking really bright, and I look forward to all the cool things that will eventually be included in Imperator Rome. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Bye bye.